The value of your 2025 rookie picks is on the rise after the first 2 weeks of the college football season. There are 5 players in particular who you need to know about to understand the value of those 2025 picks. So let's discuss them. First and foremost, we need to talk about Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty. And let me be clear, heading into the season, I liked Ashton Jeanty a ton. You can go over to the rookie big board, check out my summer scouting report. It was very high praise for him, but I had questions. I got to be honest. I wasn't sure if the NFL was going to be all in on the defenses that Ashton Jeanty was going to face. Now, I liked the traits. I thought they transcended those defenses, but I didn't have him as my running back one coming into the season. Those questions have been answered after he absolutely shredded the Oregon defense. Now, Jeanty has a nice frame to him, 5'9", 215. That's a real sweet spot for NFL projection here. Now, it wasn't just his huge game against the Ducks where he scored 189 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also went off week 1 against Georgia Southern. In total, he has rushed for 459 yards and 9 touchdowns on just 45 carries through his first 2 games. Ashton Jeanty is absolutely shredding both upper and lower level competition. But let's talk about the tape here. What you see with Ashton Jeanty is an explosive running back. He gets off the snap quickly. He's got a nice second gear to his game. And what I love is his vision holds up against Oregon. I've loved his ability to navigate the field, move laterally, feel space. But you always do have a little bit of hesitation when you don't see it on a big stage. Well, now all those questions have been answered for Ashton Jeanty. It's not that the running backs I had ahead of him going into the season, like Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins, have done bad, but Ashton Jeanty has answered the questions. For me, he's locked into top 50 draft capital, barring some unforeseen circumstance or injury. And I actually think Ashton Jeanty even has a chance to be a first-round NFL draft pick. Now, heading into the season, we liked this running back class, but the idea that we now could have 3 top 50 running backs, potentially a first-round running back, that's going to raise the overall value of your draft picks as you're looking ahead to next season. Let's move on to the quarterback position, because that was the position group getting knocked the most heading into this season, and rightfully so. Now, right off the bat, even though I like what I've seen from the position overall in the first 2 weeks of the college football season, it needs to be said, this is still not the 2024 quarterback class, all right? You're not going to get a lot of classes that are filled with Caleb Williamses and Jaden Daniels and Drake Mays, right? But I want to talk about 2 quarterbacks in particular that really are raising the floor of this class. Now, I'm not going to talk about Carson Beck. He's had a really solid first 2 weeks. He's done everything we wanted him to do against lower level competition. But Quin Ewers out of Texas stepped up big time against Michigan. And this isn't the first time that Ewers, the 6'2", 210-pound quarterback for the Longhorns, has stepped up on the big stage. Remember his huge game against Alabama in week 2 of the 2023 season? In both that game and this game, Ewers showed command of the offense. He showed off big arm talent. Now, the difference in this year is I thought Quin Egers overall through the first 2 weeks has showed improved decision-making, and he feels like he's more in command of this Steve Sarkisian offense. If you go back to 2023, a lot of things were schemed up. Space was schemed up, screens, bubble play, stuff close to the line of scrimmage, receivers really working with each other to get open in the middle of the field. This year, I saw Quin Ewers cooking. He was improvising. He was using his mobility to extend the play. He was keeping his eyes up when looking, for the pass downfield as the pocket broke down. He stayed very calm and collected against a really good Michigan defense. Now, obviously, this isn't the 2023 Michigan Wolverines team, but this defense still has multiple future first-round draft picks on it, right? So he's not playing a scrub team here, but he really looked dominant against Michigan. I expect him to carry that momentum over into SEC play, and things are going to be looking really good for Ewers, who has completed 69% of his passes for 560 yards and a fantastic 6-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio over his first 2 games. Now, I'm talking about Ewers in particular right now, but I could have done a full slide on Matthew Golden and a full slide on Isaiah Bond, the 2 wide receivers out of Texas. I'm a big fan of both of these players going into the season. Golden is your possession guy, separates very well, clean route runner, and Isaiah Bond is an explosive deep field stretcher. Both players show really good hands, and they've both been very successful in very different ways over the first 2 weeks of the season. I think both Bond and Golden will be day 2 draft picks, with Isaiah Bond having a really high ceiling. I could see him potentially pushing top 40, maybe even sneaking into the back half of day 1 if he continues to perform at a high level. But for Quin Ewers himself, I have him as a mid-day 1 draft pick. That is a little bit of a bump for me. That's picks 10 to 20 overall. I'm not ready to lock him into top 10 capital, but I feel pretty confident at this point in time that Quin Ewers will be a first-round NFL draft selection. Just like I'm confident that Cam Ward, the quarterback out of Miami, will also be a first-round NFL draft selection. As far as I'm concerned, you can write it in permanent marker because I am all in on Cam Ward. He's checked all the boxes that I want to see. Now, if you are reading my stuff over at patreon.com/rookiebigboard, or even if you're listening to other, the preview videos, now, if you read my summer scouting report for Cam Ward or checked out an earlier video where I talked about him, I said that I wanted to rank Cam Ward high going into the season, but I needed to see some rather dramatic improvement heading into this final season in Miami. And the NFL draft community said the same thing. Cam Ward looked destined to be in the 2024 NFL draft class. He got his draft grade, realized he was going to be a day 2 selection, wasn't happy with that, came back to Miami. What was I looking for? I was looking for Cam Ward to settle down, play a little bit less hero ball behind a stronger offensive line, show improved decision-making, and that's what I've gotten over the course of the first 2 weeks. He's playing with what I would call controlled athleticism. He's still using his mobility. He's still running around and using his legs in a positive way. But you'll see he only actually has 7 rushes over the course of the first 2 weeks, right? He does have a rushing touchdown. He does have 46 rushing yards. But for the most part, he's relying on his wicked arm talent, and he's got a huge arm that we're seeing. It's not just arm strength. It's his ability to work in improvised angles. He's finding windows. He fires the ball in with tight velocity. And he showed improved decision-making as well and mechanics. He looks more comfortable, more consistent in the pocket. What I like from Cam Ward, go back to the Florida game. He threw an early interception. It was a poor decision. He was trying to do too much, throws across his body, poor decision. He does not get hung up on it. From that point on, he's thrown 6 straight touchdowns over the last 2 weeks without an interception. Now, he has played Florida and Florida A&M, right? So FCS opponent in week 2 and a down Gators defense in week 1. Well, folks, if you're thinking about the value of Cam Ward and the value of these picks, right, in 2025, his stock is only going to go up over the next month or so, because unless you want to say Virginia Tech in 2 weeks, he doesn't really have a real opponent, in my opinion, a real test until October 19th when Miami plays Louisville, right? So I think that Cam Ward is going to be on a steady projection up. Y'all, I like Carson Beck. I like Quin Ewers. Cam Ward, he's quarterback 1 for me. There's no reason to delay it. He's checked all the boxes. I think he's going to get at least mid-round 1 NFL draft capital as well. I think he has top 10 NFL draft capital potential, though. I'm a big fan of Cam Ward. And a lot of folks are big fans of what we're doing over at patreon.com/rookiebigboard. You can head on over to the Rookie Big Board resource page to get access to exclusive patron articles, access to the 2025 rookie big board that I'm highlighting the risers for on this episode. You can also get access to my Devy rankings, my dynasty rankings, and so much more personalized access via the rookie big board Discord. All of that's available for just $5 over at patreon.com/rookiebigboard. How about Penn State running back Nick Singleton? This is what we've been waiting for, folks. 6'0", 227 out of Penn State, that 5-star profile. And as a true freshman, we saw those pops of athleticism. We saw those pops of explosiveness. But over the first 2 weeks of the season, it looks consistent. He's explosive on every run, through the air, on the ground. He looks much more comfortable running in between the tackles. You go back to that 2023 tape and you could see he's overthinking things too often. Now it's showing improved vision. Like I said, especially between the tackles, he flips that second gear. Over the course of the first 2 weeks here, 233 rushing yards on 26 carries. Now, that may not sound super impressive, but if you understand the Penn State offense, you know that's really good. It's 9 yards per carry. He's got 3 total touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 through the air. He's only got 2 receptions, but that touchdown reception in particular in week 2 against Bowling Green, it was a very exciting one. He faced a solid Big 12 defense in West Virginia week 1, so it wasn't 2 weeks a cakewalk for Nick Singleton either. And although we just talked about 2 quarterbacks, I didn't want to extend it and talk about Drew Allar as well, because I still think there's a real good shot Drew Allar ends up in the 2026 class, even though he could declare in the 2025 class. I've got to take a moment to give Allar a shout out here, because he definitely saw stock up over the first 2 weeks as well. He looks like he has very improved mechanics, very comfortable in the pocket, and his arm talent is on full display as well. So Andy Kolnicki is unlocking the traits that are very present in these playmakers in the Penn State offense. Now, heading into the season, I had Nick Singleton, based on his 2023 and 2022 tape, as an early day 3 NFL draft capital, with the caveat that if he started showing these traits, this explosiveness, this athleticism, this vision more consistently, he was going to get a quick bump. And he gets a quick bump here. I have him now in mid to late day 2 territory, right? So I'm talking after pick 50, before pick 102, somewhere in that range. Again, Nick Singleton, we just talked about it with Ashton Jeanty, pushing up the overall value of the running back class here. And let's finish things off with the tight end position, because actually I'm encouraged about the tight end position. I try not to get too excited about tight ends for fantasy purposes, right? But with Mason Taylor out of LSU popping, I now think we have 3 tight ends in a very solid tier. Now, they're not in that top tier that a guy like, Trey McBride would have been in, or a guy like Brock Bowers would have been in. But I think we have 3 tight ends in a really solid next tier up here. Mason Taylor, 6'5", 255 out of LSU. He's got good speed. He's got good athleticism. I love his route running ability. He's able to get into space, and he's got really clean hands. And what's really evident from the first 2 weeks of the season for me is he's got good chemistry with Garrett Nussmeier, the young quarterback stepping in, who's looked very well himself over the first 2 weeks, but he's definitely relied on Mason Taylor as a key part of that passing game. 11 receptions for 102 yards over the first 2 weeks of the season, but in particular, it was that USC tape from week 1. Taylor was 7 for 62 against the Trojans, and he was a key piece in making sure the LSU offense was moving. So I expect this type of production to translate forward here. Mason Taylor should be looking at, 60 plus receptions and probably somewhere in the ballpark of 700 to 900 receiving yards. He's absolutely going to be on NFL draft radars. And like I said, he's in that top tier now with Arande Gadsden out of Syracuse, who has looked fantastic over the first 2 weeks, and Colston Loveland, who has also been a really integral part of the Michigan passing offense here. So 3 legitimate tight ends are in play here, which again pushes up the value of the draft class. Now, you'll notice I didn't even talk about the wide receivers aside from Bond and Golden, because that was the strongest position group coming in. So as far as I'm concerned, quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends are stock up. Wide receivers are holding high. And if you check out all of my videos, you know I don't just hype up draft picks to hype up draft picks. I'm not about that. I really think the value of this class is heading up. And if you have any questions about any 2025 prospects that I did not cover in this video, or the guys that I did cover, feel free to drop a comment, a question in the comment section here. Make sure to give the video a like. I love having that discussion back and forth. And if you want to have really deep discussions, that personalized advice, along with getting access to premium Devy 2025 class written content, rankings, and the Rookie Big Board Discord, you can head on over to patreon.com/rookiebigboard and join a really fantastic community. Hey, thanks for checking out this episode.